Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Star in Focus podcast. I'm Deanna Oakes, your host, and we have with us today the amazing Danielle Parker. How are you?
I am great. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm so excited to have you.
I am so excited to be here. I always love being able to, get in and throw out whatever information I can. So,
Yeah, for sure. And nobody knows about our profession, so I feel like there's all kinds of stuff for us to tell them, right?
yes, there is.
So we are both court reporters. We had the pleasure of meeting at Unity Summit, but for those who do not know you, why don't you give us a little quick synopsis of your role in the court reporting field?
So, my role in the court reporting field, oh, if only it were so that I only had one role.
Right.
For those who may not know, I am in the state of Georgia. In February of this year, became the official court reporter for the chief judge of the Superior Court in Fulton County. So I am his official. I also in April of this year was put into place as president of the Georgia Court Reporters Association. And here recently, in this past July, I was then voted into president for the National Verbatim Reporters Association. Um, I have a small agency that my sister and I run together, and I have a school where I teach voice writing. And I think that that's basically all when it comes to my
Basically.
there might be some other
Congratulations.
committee. There might thank you. There are
Oh, yeah.
definitely some committees in there that I'm involved in as well for both NVRA and GCRA. But that's pretty much my court reporter resume.
And quite a resume, I'll say. That's huge.
If someone had told me when I first got back into court reporting back in 2020 that this is where I would be, I would have probably laughed and said, "Yeah, no, I don't think so."
Right? In 5 years, now you're, in, I mean, I don't know
Everything.
C-suite, but you're big deal in these in these associations. It's amazing.
Exactly. And not bad for somebody who's come from a digital court reporter background. So a
Yeah.
lot of people don't realize that I started in the industry as a digital court reporter.
Yeah, so share that with our viewers here. So you started as digital, you've only been voice since 2020.
20, yes, 20, wait, no. Since 2021 is when
Okay.
I switched to voice.
Oh,
And then that's when I got my certification at that point in time.
so why the switch?
So this is going to be really funny to some people, but voice is actually easier than digital in some
Okay.
ways. Um, it boils down to what kind of digital court reporter you want to be. I was one of those ones that was very detailed. Um, I utilized a shorthand that I made up to make my annotations more voluminous, I guess, or make them to be able to be readable or to do readbacks. And it's really hard on your hands, like really, really hard. And during that time, I was also in school for machine, and I did that for a couple of years. And between the digital and the machine, my hands, I started having issues with those due to an auto immune disorder I have. And so that kind of led me to the, I don't know if you want to call it the fork in the road. Do I want to find a new career field or do I want to find another way to do this career field? And that's kind of how I got into voice.
That's amazing. It's incredible that you have touched on all three different methods. And
Literally.
I think it's really I don't know what an eloquent way to say it, but I just think it's very cool to hear somebody say that like digital reporting was challenging because I know there's a lot of myths out there and there's a lot of, whatever naysayers, but like it does take somebody being engaged and, participating in a, and clearly it was
And that is definitely the case. As a digital court reporter, I worked really hard to make sure that I was one that could do readbacks that, would be able to give that aspect of the record. And it was definitely much harder to do as a digital court reporter than it is as a voice writer because you can click right where you need to be and it's all right there. Whereas you're trying to decipher sometimes your annotations and what you wrote to be able to do that for them. And some can't do that. And so it was It was definitely challenging. Definitely more than pushing a button, as a lot of people like to
Yeah.
say.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. You have to go to school and so how did you even get into the field? I mean, do you have family members or how did that happen?
So I am originally, well, not originally, but I moved to Georgia from Michigan. And I was working at a district court as a court clerk, and they needed extra help for jail arraignments because jail arraignments were done every day, 7 days a week. And there were only, I think, three, maybe four court reporters that were in our district that could do it. And so they needed some assistance so that they could have more time off. And it was literally an option for overtime. And I'm like, I'll do it.
Right?
I will absolutely do it. So they paid for me to get certified. And then I went to test literally while I was, I think I was no, 7 or 8 months pregnant with my daughter at the time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a
So
lot.
here I am trudging through my little pregnant self to go and take this certification test, and then passed it and started working in that district court with jail arraignments and then filling in for other court reporters.
Okay, and so that was when you were like, I'm gonna be on the court reporter side now. Nice.
So it was sort of, I did that for 4 years, and then I left Michigan and I was doing other, or excuse me, before I left Michigan, I left the court and I was doing other kinds of work. I worked in a bank. I've worked in a handyman service, like a franchise, like answering phones, like some of the jobs. I'm like, I can't believe I did that. But then when I moved to Georgia, I was working for a bank, and there were some things that were going on with that, with the branches closing. And I happened to find a job posting on Indeed for digital court reporters. And I was like, hey, I remember doing this. Let me see if I can get back into this. And then that's really where it started, and the real road to court reporting started for me.
Wow, how cool. I mean, now it's not uncommon, right? People change their careers all the time. It feels very just regular run of the mill at this point, which I kind of like. I mean, it feels very freeing. Then some people like my grandfather worked on the railroad, like that was his identity. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's like
Yes.
I don't know. I feel like you said, it's almost freeing. It feels a little bit more autonomous, maybe.
It was definitely a drastic changeover for me in a lot of ways, just with, you're used to that regular 9 to 5. You get up, you go to I'll just use the bank, for instance. You get up, you go, you work and get through your day, you leave, you trudge home. And it was so different when I got back into court reporting, particularly with the digital court reporting in the Atlanta area, because there's so much that goes on. And so there's so many interesting cases, interesting things that are going on, that I got a lot of. The one thing I will say about that experience as a digital court reporter is I got a ton of experience in depositions, in court, because, for some of the larger firms that you work for as a digital court reporter, you may do 10 jobs in a week.
Oh, wow. Because
Yeah,
it's just the shorter jobs. I mean, I took two depots today, so I guess it's not, that unheard of, but
correct.
10 in a week sounds,
I mean, and that's a lot of what it was. And that actually is what sparked me to want to start learning the transcription portion, because even when I was in Michigan, I didn't transcribe. It was purely just takedown that we would do. And when I first got back into digital court reporting here in Georgia, it was the same thing. It was just takedown. And a huge part of me was like, but I want to know what the rest of the process is like. I want to be a part of the rest of that process. And then that just kind of started my learning till I eventually got to the point where I was now going for certification. So it was always interesting to me to be able to see that finished product at the end.
yeah, for
Mhm.
sure. And now the next step, this is how, well, if you're an official, you have the access to the case. But for me, I always want to know how the case ends or where does it go from here, kind of a thing. But as an official, I mean, you get that, right? You see the whole case through.
You do see the whole case through now. Well, to an extent, more so with criminal cases than you do civil cases. And sometimes your civil cases are more interesting than some of your criminal cases.
Okay.
So I will throw that out there. Up
What's like a
until
boring criminal case? Like what is?
a DUI, because they just happen so often. Like a lot of the courts have like DUI accountability courts or things like that. And it was it was that frame of thought that actually made me pause. Not the current position that I'm in, but the one right before that. Same county, same building, but I moved from state court up to superior court. And before I took that state court job, I really thought, "Ew, am I going to be doing DUIs all day, every day, and that's all that we're going to do? I don't know if I want to do that." But that definitely was not the case at the state court that I was at, which is in downtown Atlanta. So definitely a wide range
Yeah.
of cases. But sometimes if you're doing nothing but DUI cases, they can get a little boring and tedious.
Yeah, I could see that for sure. I
Mhm.
mean, I feel the same about contract. Breach of contract is just the worst, right? It's these multisyllabic words that nobody knows what mean, you know?
Oh, exactly. And so, and it wasn't a lot of, and with state court, it wasn't a lot of civil. Like we didn't have a whole lot. In my current position, that's all that my judge does right now. He So I don't know if you had heard about or watched anything dealing with the YSL trial that was here in Atlanta, like the
No.
Young Thug, the rapper. My judge was associated with that case. And so since then, he basically is doing just civil cases. So we don't have a lot
Mm.
of criminal things that we're dealing with or going through with that. So it definitely has changed the trajectory of my career in that way.
Why is there something about that case that's why he's only doing civil, or is it just coincidental? What happened? Or
It was a trial that lasted for 18 months.
oh my gosh, how did I not know this?
And he was then recused from the case, and then another judge came in to finish off the case. But yeah, they were in that, so he was in that particular part of the trial for 18 months, which is a
Holy
long time
cow. Yeah,
when
yes. That's unheard of. Like, oh my gosh. And then he recused himself. That feels complicated. Like,
it is definitely complicated. I stay out of it as much as possible, but at this point in time, we're basically doing civil only.
okay. He needs a break, a reset, I imagine. Oh my gosh, 18 months. I'd be like, I'm so sick of looking at your face. Like, why are
Oh,
you in my courtroom?
I can't even imagine. Like I've been in, I think the longest running trial I was in was 2 weeks. And then by the time you're at the end of the 2 weeks, you're like, are we done yet? So I couldn't even, I bowed down to his poor previous court reporter because she was a magical person, I would say,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that would have been a lot. I would have been questioning all of my life choices at that
Right?
point.
The only thing that I think, the maybe silver linings or whatever is that I feel like certain speakers, once you get to their cadence or whatever, so at least in that regard, outside of like whoever's on the stand, she's got the attorneys and all of their sort of
Mhm.
lingo and their phrases down. So maybe that made her life easier, but
Could be. I just couldn't imagine being on the same case
yeah,
for 18 months. So that's a lot.
that is a lot. So you'll have to forgive my ignorance. I'm sorry. I swear I live under a rock, but is it resolved? Has there been a sentence? Has there been
There has
a
he ended up taking, I don't know if you listen to rap or know who Young Thug is, but that's who was on trial, and he ended up taking a plea. I think he got like probation time and then time served. And so
okay.
it was a case that was, there were, I want to say 28 defendants, and they were basically trying them in that particular trial. There were 5 defendants during that trial.
Wow.
For eight, yeah, that for that 18-month period was for 5 defendants who were all on trial at that point in time.
Wow. That's crazy. Well, I'm sure the stories are good.
I'm just glad to have missed it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So how does your family feel about you being in the courtroom? Are they happy that you have this career? Are they following in your footsteps? Like, what's the vibe there?
So my kids are kind of like, oh, court reporting's boring, because I have given them the opportunity to work as scopist for some of the stuff that I did, and
Okay.
it was boring deposition
Me too.
stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And so now they're both kind of like, my son is like, if everything else in life fails, maybe I'll become a coordinator.
That's hilarious.
My daughter, it's still up in the air. She's kind of like, yeah, but what you do is so boring. And I'm like, it's not boring.
Well, so here's what I think, because I do agree it is kind of boring, especially if you're, like I said, in contract, it's just, oh my God, my head wants to explode sometimes. But here's how I balance it. It's like, because I'm a freelancer, so I make my own schedule. I just took 2 weeks off. Nobody can tell me no. You know what I mean? Like, absolutely not. I feel like that balances it out. And the time, when I'm working on pages, doing the editing, scoping, whatever it might be, all
Hmm.
that process, I'm in my office with my dogs. I've got usually a TV on. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I just feel like that balances it out a little bit so that, yes, the proceedings, I'm like, do not yawn again. Do not yawn again. Right?
I guess that's sometimes the plus side of being a voice writer is your face is half covered. So the only thing you've really got to, do anything about is your eyes and making sure that they're not speaking for you.
Sure. Yeah. Rolling your eyes. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So
So I wanted to ask you, speaking of the mask, so I know we talked about it at the conference, but tell us, like, do you prefer the mask? Do you not? Because sometimes you can just use a mouthpiece, right? Or is that not the case in court?
it definitely not the case in court.
Okay.
Is always closed mask in court because otherwise they can hear you and it's going to be distracting. I was one of those ones even when I would do Zoom, like either from my office or from my home office, I would still utilize my mask because depending on what you're utilizing, like which mask you're utilizing, if you're utilizing a mask or open mic, your profile is going to differ in how it works. And so the software we use is kind of like a goldfish. It's kind of like if it doesn't do the same thing every day, then it's going to forget.
Okay. Okay.
So I always do close. I've been closed mass. I think I might have done open mic for like a couple of depositions, and I felt so like Zoom depositions, and I felt so awkward that I'm like, no, I need my mask back. And I'm hands free. I actually use a stand to hold my mask, so it actually makes it easier for me because I'm not sitting there having to hold my mask the entire time.
Yeah, that's very smart. I would think that it would like strap on or something. You know what I mean? Because holding it feels very busy, right?
And very tiring. And so there is a company that does make it where it can strap to you. I used to utilize that. Now I use a stand that's connected to a chair and it holds the mask and then that way I can still turn and move in my chair, but it gives me the ability to be able to write down exhibits, take notes, editing on the fly. I'm working towards my real-time license, and so that's one of the things that I'm working on is that when I'm taking down, I am correcting as I go.
That's a really nice feature to be able to have because for me, we have to split our screen. I don't know how far you got when in
I tapped out at 100 words per minute in speed building. So I made it through theory, but I couldn't get past the 100s for
I hear you, girl. It took me like 20 years to get to 100. It was terrible. But but so we have, I don't know, are you familiar, or you may not even remember Case Cat software, but you can split your screen so that one
Mhm.
of them is running with you know what I mean? But then I am just constantly, I mean, it's wild to me, all of the editing that I'm doing in the meantime. You
Yes.
wouldn't be able to do it. I don't have the, what do they call it? Power keys or power strokes or whatever,
Hmm.
accelerators, you know what I mean? I haven't gotten to that point yet where I can just do it like my actual writer is a keyboard, but that is a very handy thing to do. Yeah. You're making voice writing sound real appealing.
Well, I will tell you this, it's definitely easier on my hands. I will say that.
Yeah.
That has been the one big I think key for me is that like machine and digital were getting really really hard on my hands, and that's one of the reasons I love the fact that there's so many methods that you can utilize because of the fact, especially here in Georgia, all three methods are allowed and certifiable here in the state of Georgia. And so if something in your life changes where you can't do one, you can go to another. I have a previous coworker at the court who was a voice writer, and then she got throat cancer.
Oh my
So
gosh.
she couldn't do voice writing anymore. So she switched to digital. And she was older when this happened. I think she actually was on machine first and then switched to voice. And
Wow.
then when she ran into the throat cancer, she's like, I want to be in this field. I love this field. So she switched to digital.
I mean, that's amazing. Sounds like Georgia's just churning out all methods all day. Like,
Well, we're trying. At the beginning of this year, we were actually granted, we being GCRA, were granted the ability to give the general licensing examination in Georgia. So we are now doing what we can to help produce more court reporters for the state of Georgia. And we test all three methods when we're doing testing. All three methods, all in the same room, all taking the same test.
that's awesome.
It is.
Really cool. I kind of want to go there for that just in the midst of all of that, I mean, it's really forward thinking, right? It's very new
Yes.
age. I love that it's all the same content. Like you're gonna see every method produces a transcript, it's really cool.
Exactly. And that's the thing, is you get that end product as a grader where you're looking at it and you're like, I can't tell which method this is purely by looking at their transcript. I can only tell because I'm looking at the rest of their files. They've got voice notes, they've got
Right.
annotations, or they've got their steno notes. So that's the only way that we know is in grading, when we get to that point that we're grading that piece. So I really do love the fact that it is we're testing all methods. And I think at this point, we've only had two tests this year. Our next test is this month. And then we've got one more in December. And so far, I think we have had like 34 new court reporters come from those two tests so far.
That's great. Oh,
Yeah.
wow. That is amazing. I know 34 sounds kind of small to some of
But
the
it's
viewers.
really
That is a
not.
big deal.
That
Yeah.
is a big deal. That is 34 more people who are able to help fill the gap than there was at the beginning of this year in January. And so we look at that as sort of a badge of honor to be able to do that piece for the state of Georgia, because it is really, like, there is such a shortage and it's getting really, really difficult. And that's when you have legislation that starts to come through with, hey, let's just record everything. And that's
Yeah.
definitely not what we want. So we are trying really hard to, you know, get people out there for the,
Yeah.
from this testing.
Yeah. More so than it's not what we want. Like it's not gonna work. You know what I mean? You can't just like press record and then it's gonna end up being and then, I just think about all of the people who are wrongly imprisoned and all of the I just took a deposition this I swear to God, it was well, it had to be over it was like August, maybe 12th. Doesn't matter. It's 2025. This poor little boy, it was a, whatever uh vehicular manslaughter situation
Mm.
from 2017. 2017, girl. It's 2025. I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
what is happening, you guys? I get it, like COVID was a big deal, but we should not be 8 years in the making when someone is dying, you know?
And that is literally, one of the things that I will say about the county that I'm working in, is that they did bring in additional judges to try and help. Like, there was a grant program that was going on where they had
Oh,
judges who were coming in to help with that backload, because where we were, it was really, really bad. The court that I work in, I believe it's actually the busiest court in the entire state of Georgia.
oh wow.
It's got a lot of things that were going on. I don't know if you remember hearing about when Trump was being, they were doing an investigation on him, or grand jury charges, or trying to go after him. That was at the courthouse that I work at.
Wow.
So it's a lot of stuff that goes on at this particular court location. And so like, I think we have 21 superior court judges.
Wow, okay.
And then when I was in state court, there were 10 judges that a handful of us court reporters would rotate between. So it's a lot of opportunity out there. The goal is to always have a person that is there that can help, the record to be what it should be.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think we're all on the same page with you have to have a professional, an absolute like a certified professional in the room to
Yes,
manage things. You know what I mean? There are so many, right? Like you wouldn't get on a plane and just be like, go, you know? Absolutely not. Like, that sounds terrifying. Um,
exactly.
but I was going to ask, and if we don't want to broach this topic, we don't have to, but how do you feel about the NCRA situation? Because there was, so you probably know more about it. I'm going to give what I know about it, and then you fill in or tell me if I'm completely wrong. But it's my understanding that NCRA was going to include voice writers in their, I don't know, documents in their bylaws. And then the voice writers said, no, thank you. I think is sassy and I'm into it.
So so that I do know probably way more than I ever cared to. You learn a lot being in all of the arenas that I'm in right now,
Yeah.
and it really was the part of the membership that brought that forward to NCRA to say, hey, we want to incorporate voice writers. My thought on it is that adding in another method like that is a lot of responsibility, particularly to the people that you are bringing into your organization. And you really want to make sure that you are giving them the best quality that they can get. And I don't foresee that being something that is going to happen with NCRA for a really long time. Doesn't mean it may not ever get there. There seem to be a lot more people who were positive about it than it has been in previous years. But I think that's always the thing to think about is what's best for your members. Where can they get the best training, certification, continuing education that is geared towards what they do.
Yeah. No,
So
I
that's
think
kind of
that's
my
really
thought on that.
no, and it's really well said. I think that encapsulates exactly what we saw in whatever email went out or whatever.
Hmm.
And you make a very valid point. Like voice writers had to band together and create NVRA, and now we have NVRA, so we're all set, kind of. And I think that that's really commendable and brave, and I'm here for it. Like especially with all of the unfortunate stuff that sort of happened in the past to even get to where we have to exclude people. I don't understand why that's still happening, but I'm
Exactly.
I think that makes perfect sense. And yeah. Yeah, especially after all of the work, like you said, that you guys have gone into creating NVRA. You know what I
Correct.
mean?
And
So,
it's been it is there's still areas that we are working on being able to work in. There's still states where voice is still not accepted. So that's a really big endeavor that we're working on because of the fact that um I have learned over time that people make assumptions about something and they don't actually realize the true aspect of it. When I came and presented for the Unity Summit, there were several machine writers who were part of GCRA. And afterwards, I was speaking to them and they were like, I'm so glad that you did this. I've never seen a voice writer actually do their job. I didn't fully understand what it is that voice writers do. And I think it's like that across the board, that unless you've truly had some experience, whether it's work or whether it's school in these various methods, you're not going to fully understand them. You're going to have a very baseline consideration of what it is, and that baseline may be way off.
yeah, for sure. Especially, where is that baseline coming from, right? Like, is it,
Right.
are you getting, yeah. So that was such a cool workshop. We've done it a few times. People really love it. And I'm with you. Like, the more you know, like it's really helpful to just see and how many people were blown away by the digital and what they have to do. And it's just
Exactly.
the
And
more,
that's the thing. And even as a digital court reporter, that was always my thing, is to try to educate, to let people know, hey, this isn't, I don't just push a button. Like, I'm really doing some hard work here and making sure that the record is good. And
yeah.
so I'm one of those ones that's just always going to think division is only going to make the shortage issue a bigger issue, because
Yeah.
now instead of everyone coming together to try to solve the problem, we're infighting, and then that just leaves this big arena where, other things can come in, like this legislation that has come in through Georgia, that sort of thing. So
Yeah. Is there legislation that's trying to be passed to?
it's already been passed that, and this goes into effect in January of 2026, where in certain jurisdictions, depending on their shortage of court reporters, that they can just record the proceeding, and then it has to be transcribed after the fact. And part of what the legislature was is that it has to be transcribed by a certified court reporter. It can't just be someone that is just a transcriber. They have to be a certified court reporter.
Yeah.
And so that legislation is coming, and that's one of the big reasons why GCRA wanted to get into being able to take over the test when NVRA stopped giving the GLE for the state of Georgia, because we want to do what we can to try to fill that gap, so that that usage of just recording is as minimal as possible, because it's really, I think that a lot of people are outside of the field don't truly understand how much and what goes into ensuring that it is a good record.
Yeah.
A lot of people think, let me just press record and then it's gonna do it for me, or AI is gonna do this. And it's like, everything is limited. If
Right.
you've got three or four people speaking over each other, I don't care if you're AI, I don't care if you're, Arnold Schwarzenegger from Terminator. Like you you are, you're
Yeah.
going to struggle to give a good, accurate record, because it just is the nature of things, particularly. I mean, and you've probably run into this before, where you're taking down a job. Yeah, you're recording your room audio, but the room audio has a spot where the gallery door slams, or if you're in court, people are coughing, or if you're in a deposition and people are coughing.
Yeah.
You understood and hear it because you were physically there to be able to
Right.
take it down. But if you go back and listen to that audio, you're like, I can't hear what they said over this person coughing in my ear.
Right.
So
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think, I had even said as a snarky younger reporter once, like, bring it. Like, just, you want to record everything? My rates are going to triple. You know what I mean? Like, because, and
because it's more work.
well, yeah, and it's not like that, but maybe it's just the vindictive nature I have, but like, it's we're trying to prepare you. And I honestly, I truly believe that there is enough money out there for everybody who wants to succeed to. So I've always been of the mindset too, like there's a shortage of court reporters, start paying them $200,000, start paying them $300,000. See if there's a shortage. You think there will be?
And it's
There won't be.
And it's so funny, because that's a big thing that's been happening here in Georgia, where the per diem rate for reporters, going into covering courts, was $200. And in some courts locations, they still have that. Several, and when I say several, I mean the number is starting to grow, of the court systems have upped it to $400, and they are no longer having an issue or having as much difficulty getting a court reporter to cover. Like, you want to pay me $400, I will be there.
Right. Well, and
So
it's
I
hard.
agree.
Yes, yes. And it's just hard. It's, because I'm somebody who's on the per diem list and I am very happy to help out when I can. But I mean, you freelanced, right? I
I
mean,
did.
you're like the money, even $400 is
Wait, go
not
s-
going to be as much as you would make if you were taking a deposition.
go sit in court all day, possibly. No transcript requests, so no pages, and make $200, or go do an hour and a half deposition and potentially walk away making $1,500. It's not a hard decision to
Right.
make.
Right, right. And that circles back to the boring part, right? I'm like, yes, this is boring for 3 hours. You know what I mean? Like it can be, and it's not always boring. Sometimes it's very juicy,
Yes.
but yeah, that's how I definitely justify it. But it's the same thing with teachers, right? Or nurses. It's like, oh, weird, there's a shortage, but I bet you if you actually paid them what they're worth, there would not be. And I don't understand why that is lost on on the
I,
higher ups.
I think that that is just the trajectory of a lot of places particular, and when I say places, like businesses, things like that in the United States as a whole. I think that that just is a difficulty that some of us are going to always be trying to work towards fixing or seeing what we can do to assist, but it is it is definitely about the almighty dollar and paying as little as possible.
Yeah, which is such a downer, but that's a conversation for another time. So I wanted to know because you just told, I don't think that I knew this, or at least I didn't remember that you were an instructor. You're a teacher. You have a school?
I have a school. So I currently have a program. It is called Ardor Excelsior Academy, where I teach voice writing. And so there is a live Zoom portion to it if you choose, or the self-paced program where people can go at the pace that they choose to. So that I've had going for the last, I think last month was actually a whole year that the school
Congratulations.
had been up and going. Thank you.
It's been a big year for you.
It has been. It's been a lot.
Yeah, I'll
It's been
bet.
it's been
Sounds
a
like
lot of good and a lot of bad. And so, and when I say bad, I don't really mean like bad, but I mean like difficulties. So in June of this year, which would have been right after you saw me at Unity Summit, I actually fell and broke my ankle.
oh no.
And I broke it bad enough where I had to have surgery. And so right now I'm still in a boot, like not this second because I'm at home, but during the day I'm still in the boot because I'm just now getting to that tail end of starting physical therapy and all of that. So it has been a lot of downtime recently.
Oh, and for the summer.
And it was. And I was not able to go to convention this year for NVRA, which I had really looked forward to because I was on the slate potentially for president. There was someone else that was running also. So I was really, really excited. Like, this is going to be the year that I go. And it did not turn out that way. But here I am still president. So
Yeah, exactly. They can't take that from you for sure. Well, and you're in good spirits, so
have to be. I live a life of there's only so much you can control. I can't control most of the things that happen around me. The only thing I can control is how I respond to it and how I deal with it and how I handle it. And it
absolutely.
could be miserable, sad, depressed, and all of that, or I could be laughing at myself because I fell off my scooter. Didn't hurt myself more, but like that's the kind of way that I look at life is like it's like just laugh at yourself. It's so
Yeah.
much better.
Right, when those are your options. I agree with you for sure. So the academy, what made you want to start it? Like, was there just a shortage of it? Is this what you and your sister are doing?
So I have been mentoring people for a long time. My niece, who is now, I'm not going to throw her age out there, but she came to me one day several years ago and was like, I want to do what you do. Like, I want you to teach me what you do. And so she is now a certified Georgia court reporter. She is now a CVR through NVRA. She is the primary court reporter for our agency that we have. And it just was, I would have so many people contact me about things like, I went to school and I passed my test, but I don't know how to put a transcript together. I don't know what to do to get out there, start working, that sort of thing. And so that's what really, it was a lot of I love to teach. I love engaging with people where they're asking questions and I can answer. It's like one of those things I love. I do want to add a caveat. I love teaching adults.
Yeah, people who want to learn, right? People who are, yeah.
Yeah. So let me throw that out there so nobody's like, oh, I should go into education. No, I shouldn't. Um, but that engaging with someone that you're trying to figure out a way to explain it to them and you can see when the light bulb comes on, it
Yeah.
is such an amazing feeling. And so I have mentored for years and it just sort of led to that I wanted to create a school or a program where people were getting what they were not getting in some of the other programs. My program's not just about teaching you to pass a test, it's about, okay, we've got you past the test. We got you through certification. Now, this last section of the program is for you to understand how to produce a transcript, how to track your jobs, how to start your business, how to look for a scopist, how to, all of those things that are kind of you figure out, but a lot of us have figured out by trial and error sometimes more error than anything else.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to be able to offer that to people, especially because it could be, this is such a great career field, such a great career field.
I agree.
And it could really be life changing. Like you could, it can absolutely change your life in regards to just your day to day, in regards to what things you're able to do, travel, all of that. And so to be able to give that back is, it's hard to put that to words, like it really is. So it's, that's what really pushed me to make it, is like I hated seeing people go through a program and then come out and they're like, okay, I don't know how to use my software. I don't know how to put a transcript together. I
Yeah. And I feel like so much of school, especially for steno, was learning speed, that there definitely was. I mean, and we learned our software we had, but it's not the same as, being, you know what I mean? Because again, it's 3 hours of testimony, but it could be another 10, who knows, 15 hours.
on the backside, right?
Yes.
And that is a huge thing. I always tell my students, what you're learning right now when you're learning to take down, that's the registration table of the marathon.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
The takedown is literally the registration table. The marathon begins once you are done with that takedown and you get to start that, and you've now got to start that process of turning in this product. And I just realized my camera's tilting. So sorry about that if I
Oh,
looked a
yeah, no
little.
worries.
That's where your real work comes in, because yeah, you may have been on the record for 8 hours, but you're going to put 2 to 3 times that into your transcript. And of course, when you're dealing with newer reporters, um, especially in voice writing, let me back it up and say it like this. I've heard people say, "Oh, voice writers, they're just glorified digitals and so on and so forth, and that's how they can start working so fast and all of this other stuff." The thing that I've learned being in all three methods at some point in time is that your struggle period or your learning period differs. So for a machine, you have to learn everything at the front end. You have to learn to read the steno, to type the steno. You've got to all of that at the beginning before you can get to the point of certification. With voice, we already know how to speak. We don't need to learn a new language. So we're able to pick up speed faster, but our accuracy, we have to do a lot of work on the back end. So now once you become certified, now not only are you working, but you're now trying to improve your accuracy. And
Right.
so the difficulties that the methods have are similar, but they're just done at a different point in time. I tell my students all the time, when you first start, you've got to put in a lot of work. If I had been counting the number of hours that I've had to put in to get my profiles to the point now where I'm ready to be to take a real-time test, it's literally taken years.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And
I think that's just the difference that I see in the two, and why I emphasize to my students, this is the registration table. You about to begin the marathon here as soon as you sit down.
right. Yeah. And I mean, that's why I lean on scopists and proofreaders, right? Like it's just sometimes there's not enough time. If you're working on a case that's depositions every single day, like it's,
Yep.
yeah, definitely but it's worth it in my opinion.
It's so worth it. And I, having started out as a scopist, before fully becoming a court reporter, I always tell my students, eventually, yes, get a scopist. It's going to be one of the best decisions you ever make. But for the first 6 months, minimum, you need to scope your own work.
I agree.
Because,
Absolutely. Yeah.
because, and I said bare minimum. It really should be at least a year, but
I've been using Scopus for the first probably 3 years, and I haven't even been reporting that long. It's probably been, I want to say 7 or 8 years now. I'm a baby compared to my peers. But definitely, I mean, I was horrified. I didn't want anybody to see my, on translates. There's just so
you're like,
many
oh, this is horrible. Like
yeah.
who
what was I trying to write here?
Exactly. And
Yeah,
so I always preface that, preface that to my students because of the fact that that's how you grow and how you improve your writing. It's how you improve your takedown. When you can understand your software and you can take that and you can utilize it with the analysis that you're doing on your writing, that's how you're going to improve as a court reporter.
absolutely. And I think that is a good place for us to get, because girl, we could talk for so long.
I know, right?
Already been almost an hour. I can't believe that. But so, on that note of like what you're telling your new students, I usually like to ask people when it comes to like the up and coming generations, right? We want more people to be in the field. We want to share the wealth of this amazing profession that we have. What would you say to, the younger folks? I mean, you have a daughter still in high school, so but it sounds like she's already one foot out the door. But what would you say to the folks, the younger
Literally.
folks maybe, who don't know about this profession?
So it's really funny that you asked that question because one of the committees that, like I said, I do everything that I'm the chair of for GCRA is our court reporting as a career committee. And I wanted to be chair for that committee because it truly resonates in me being able to spread the word about this career field. And one of the biggest things I think that I would we did last year we had a table at the Georgia School Counselors Association convention last year.
Yeah.
And so talking to all of these different, guidance counselors to say to them, this is an avenue for those who do not go the traditional route. College is not for everyone.
No.
This is coming from somebody with a 4-year bachelor's degree
Yeah.
and lots of debt to go with it. That had I known about this prior to signing up for school, I would have never gone to school and gotten a degree. That doesn't mean that going and getting a degree is bad, but it would have been a better option for me. And I want younger people to understand is that this is another option that you have that's out there that most don't know about. They know about HVAC, they know about cosmetology, they know about, those traditional
Trades.
trades. And
Yeah.
here is this other trade that most people don't know about.
Right.
And if they had the opportunity to, they would so be invested in it and they would have this amazing opportunity to grow in this field and to grow in the amount of money that they can make.
Absolutely. Which is, I mean, it feels like the sky's the limit, really. You are your own boss, and that's just another wonderful thing about our field is the autonomy, for sure.
I love that part because I have freelance before and I have been an official several times. Um, and the thing I've learned is that I really love court. Like, I really do love being in the courtroom. I love the atmosphere. Not that I dislike depositions because trust me, I don't. I've recently, when I was off work, I was doing some Zoom depositions. So I'm not one of
Not
those
off
court
work,
reporters.
Danielle.
No such thing for me. But it just I and sometimes my poor loving husband, he loves me to death because he's so supportive. Because when I tell you that I sometimes eat, sleep, and breathe court reporting, and he's like, now what are you doing?
Right.
What are you involved in? Or I'll be like, oh, I was on the phone with so and so, and he's like, is that this organization or this organization?
Right. Right. We just get the color coded post-its, get our organized,
Right.
ourselves organized. Yeah.
So absolutely love him to death because of the fact that he is so supportive. And I don't, not that it's may not have ever happened. I'm sure in the history of somewhere there has been some person that was crazy enough to be president of a state association of something, along with being president of a national association for something, and then being on multiple committees for both. Um, I'm sure there's some other crazy person out there who's like, but there's just no way I would be able to do this without his support because he is just, along with being supportive, he does a really good job of making me keep that work life balance.
Nice.
Whereas I'm like, Oh, can I work until 10:30? Can I work until No, you're done at 8:30. That's what time we agreed on. And so, although sometimes I'm like, I wanted to work, it's always afterwards that I think, I'm so glad that he's thinking about me like that because I will go and run myself into the ground. And
Yeah,
he is so amazing to help me to see that and to keep me in check. Like,
yeah.
hey, it's your cutoff time for work. You've been working since.
Yeah, probably at least a 12-hour day by that point. Like, my
Oh
goodness.
no, way past more than 12 hours. So I absolutely love and adore him for that. So it is definitely because of the support system that I have. My sister, my mom with the business and, the school and all of that. It's like, yeah, I couldn't do what I do without the support system that I have.
Yeah, absolutely. It's amazing that, I think we need support no matter what. And I always think we're stronger together for sure. But it certainly seems to be what is keeping you tethered.
Definitely.
To, obviously not your career, you have enough of that, but tethered to your home life and to your relaxation, which we
Yes,
oftentimes don't give enough time to. But you're
we do not.
you're just a lovely ball of energy. I'm so, so grateful that we got to meet at the conference. And
Me
I'm
too.
assuming that we will get to see each other every year now moving forward.
I'm waiting for the next one. Like I am ready for the next one. So I've been saying that since I left Orlando. Like, oh, have you guys started planning the next one yet? Because I
We're trying to decide where. They may have actually already committed and not told us yet, but I was like really big into Nashville and then I was into Austin, but I don't know. They might do something crazy and just be like, "We're going to Seattle." I don't know. They don't let me choose. So,
trust me, I understand being on yet another committee. I'm the chair for the convention committee for NVRA. And so we just had site visits the week before last. So I completely understand that whole process about trying to decide where we're trying to have things.
yeah. Yeah. Did you guys commit?
We we have a place. We are waiting for the our board to look everything over and then we'll be able to advertise exactly where we'll be. But we did announce this at our current convention that we're going to be in Little Rock, Arkansas. So
Oh, cool. That's cool. And when is it going to be?
um it is going to be, I believe going to be like the first week of August is when it's going to be, as far
Okay.
as timing it. So we will have more confirmation of the exact dates very, very soon.
Sure, yeah, you got to lock down the place. All those things kind of have to. It's like the cart and the horse and all of the things, the chicken, the egg. Yeah,
Yep.
somebody has to. Yeah, I hear you, girl.
Gotta
I
have it all in order.
yes, definitely. But that's exciting. So you heard it here, y'all. Little Rock, Arkansas, NVRA with Madam President Danielle Parker. You're a boss. You are a total boss.
I'm trying. People keep saying that, and I'm like, who, where? I know you're not talking to
It.
me.
Live in it, girl. Own it. Yes.
I'm trying, but there's some days I'm like, me? Oh, I'm it. Hold on.
You're the one. You are the one.
I am the one.
Well, thank you for taking the time out of your incredibly busy life.
Thank you
Um,
for inviting me. Like things like this, I always love. Like it's always a joy and a pleasure to just be able to talk about the things that we love. So,
I agree completely. And, hopefully you will have recruited some people you won't even know about. The ripples will just, yeah.
hope so.
Well,
I
thank
still
you.
hope so.
Yeah, it's going to happen, girl. There's no way it couldn't. Thank you for coming, and thank you, everybody, for watching. We will see you guys next time.